Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the season two, first episode of HSM Talks of season two. And I'm so delighted to be back. Last season, we did about 100 episodes, and it was phenomenal. We reached out to over 4 million parents and students across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And it gives me an amazing delight to welcome you again on the season two of HSM Talks. High School Moms today is a name to reckon with. Not only we are reaching out to 4 million parents and students, we are reaching out to over 3,000 educators across various schools, be it CBSE, ICSE, International Baccalaureate, or A levels. We are reaching out to over 3,000 schools in this country. And this is super phenomenal. Who would have thought that in 1 year, you will bring high school moms to such a level? There are amazing plans in place for all of us at High School Moms. We recently launched our business and entrepreneurship internship in association with Singapore Institute of Management, Huron University, Canada, and Flame University, Pune. And would you believe it? 2,700 kids from 200 plus schools in this country participated in that internship. We came down to top 1,100, then we came down to 365, then to 20, then to 10, and then top 3 were announced. And boy, they ended up taking some amazing awards, apart from winning India's most selective high school student internship in business and entrepreneurship. It's been a great journey in last 1 year. 20th of June we'll be completing 1 year, and we hope that in next 1 year we not only democratize career counseling in college advisory, we digitize it and we decentralize it. And what I mean by that is, can we as educators reach out to everybody in nook and corner of this country with the help of technology, with the help of Facebook, social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and make each and every kid aspire for what they really want to be, aspire what they are really cut out to be, and achieve a lot more than what they ever thought they could. Today, I have an amazing friend, a super phenomenal career and college advisor, somebody who carries experience of both corporate as well as higher education. And she's going to talk about an article that she wrote very recently on LinkedIn. I was fortunate to have stumbled upon that article. And the good part is, because it was written by a friend, I ended up reading thrice. The problem is, because I'm not so intelligent, and the kind of language she uses in that article, it actually needed me to read it thrice because it just went over the top. But then I thought, if she could write so well, what better than bringing her live and talking to you guys and making you understand what she means when she writes. She wrote about a topic which is called research. Research, generally for all of us, is something that we only do in PhD. Now, go back to my days when PhD used to be passed with high difficulty. All right. But jokes apart, imagine that most of us feel that research is something that is only supposed to be done when you are doing your doctorate or a PhD. And here is this career counselor working in one of the finest schools in the country. She is saying high school students should do internships. High school students should do research. And I was like, okay, I mean, while I understand the importance of it, will parents be able to understand just by reading this article? And that's when I got this idea that season 2 could not start better than bringing Ramya Modukuri, career and college counselor with Manthan International School, to come and talk to all of us about this amazing profile building activity that a child can do in high school. Today, I hope that with the amazing, phenomenal, real expertise that Ramya carries in guiding college aspiring students, in guiding high school students to apply for the finest of the colleges and finding their true calling, she will be able to explain and reach out to you not only through this talk, but also in your thoughts and your minds and your hearts, so that you can encourage your child to follow his or her passion and to indulge in a great activity called research. We Indians really need to understand that research is one of the most finest activities that one could have done in high school, and it can really lead to your child finding his or her true calling. Let me welcome Ramya Modukuri on the screen, college and career counselor with Manthan International School. Ramya, you're visible to the public at large now. Thank you so much for taking this time out at such an ungodly hour at 10 o'clock in the night and speaking to high school moms, high school dads, students, and fellow educators who are possibly listening to you on LinkedIn right now. How are you doing, Ramya?
I'm very good. Thank you, Abhishek. And thank you so much again for having me on your platform and for those extremely exaggerated, introduction. But thank you. Thank you so much. It's
I
a
am.
pleasure to
I'm,
be
I'm
here.
I'm so glad that you took out time, Ramya, and thank you so much for being such an amazing friend that you accepted this invitation over a WhatsApp. I haven't given a call. I know how busy you are throughout the year in channelizing hundreds of students to find their college and right career. And I can't thank you enough, but please accept my gratitude from the bottom of my heart for taking this time out and being here. Ramya, I really want to tell you that we at High School Moms are trying our level best to reach out to nook and corner of this country and trying to make a real difference. We recently launched a business and entrepreneurship internship. 2,700 kids applied, and we made them really research well about various business ideas, how they can solve the problems of the world and come up with innovative solutions. Some of them won some amazing awards. The top three winners took an iPad, Sennheiser headphones, Apple
Wow.
HomePods, scholarships from the universities, and free entry to their boot camps, to their summer immersion program. So it was an amazing deal. And very soon, I'm also launching, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls who are listening to me, very soon on 25th of June, we'll be launching the registration for our research based internship, second in line. This time it will be in the field of psychology and mental health. And let me tell you, today's discussion with Ramya will prove how important it is for your children to participate in these kind of programs and engagements. But please do not think that psychology and mental health is only about students who are pursuing humanities or psychology as a subject. Psychology is way of life. Psychology is something that each one of us needs to study and understand. If given an opportunity to me, I would possibly come up with the rule that you can only father or mother a child once you understand psychology of a kid, and that's when the world would become better. But Ramya, thank you so much, and I really appreciate. I did have the opportunity to read that amazing article that you have written on research. uh, to begin with, what inspired you to write about it?
So, I mean, one is, I think as you and I were also discussing, and as you've been doing with your entrepreneurship internship and so on, we as a school also, we have a philosophy of holistic education, right? And so as far as possible, we do try to bring our students. It's been one of my primary things that, I mean, I feel like it's a change that I've positively brought about in the school is that, starting in ninth grade, and some of that is now trickling down into the middle school, is that and I think many counselors do this. I shouldn't take credit as if I'm the only one doing it, but we try to put together as many opportunities for students as we can. And then one of the things in talking to kids over the last few years, they were like, ma'am, I would, I love researching stuff. If I start down a topic, I fall down the rabbit hole and I try to get as much information as I can. And so when you start doing this, and coincidentally, I mean, some of this was just total happenstance. In my school, I had a career panel which had a principal scientist at one of the pure research firms here, which is funded by Dr. Reddy's labs. And she's amazing. She's a PhD from Cornell. And so she was talking, and one of my brilliant, like 12th graders took the initiative. He asked her, can I shadow you, ma'am, for a week or two? And she said, sure, we are a small setup, come. And then they were so impressed with the way he was, how curious he was. So really the credit is not to any of us, but to him. So he figured out, they came back, they said, why don't we do this? We want more kids to be doing science. we don't get enough PhD students. There's seriously a lack of researchers in this country. I think this is something I mentioned in my article. I think per million, we have, I was just like trying to look up the numbers here, but it's a really, really small percentage that goes into, I think we have 156 researchers per million citizens. Okay. So it's a really small number. Compare that with thousands, in other countries. And so they were really willing. And then, so we had this program that we now have going on in our school for the last couple of years. And so it made me realize we started with that one student, then we moved to 5 students, much like your, entrepreneurship. I'm sure next year you'll have, instead of the 3 award winners, you'll have, and instead of 2,000 students applying, you'll have like 20,000. So, but it made me realize, in talking to the professor who was guiding these students, who's from the University of Alabama, he said, this is what he's trying to do with undergraduates, with high schoolers. And I realized that there's so much potential, students are interested and they're capable. That's where I think we think always that bacche hain, what are they going to understand? What are they going to be able to contribute? But it's amazing, these kids are brilliant and they just need that chance, right? So that's why I thought, let's discover what's out there and how we can help these kids do these things. So sorry, I'll try to make my answer shorter going forward.
No worries. But Ramya, let's go back to the basics. We understand that right now we are live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, you and me or everybody else, any educator who's listening to us on LinkedIn, we're trying to make a difference in the life of the learner that we are really concerned about. And it's very important for the learner's parents, the child's parents, to understand that profile building is not about just going to a good university. While we accept as career counselors and college advisors that today universities look at a holistic profile with far more diligence than just the academic scores. So profile building definitely is important to get into a great university, whether it is Cornell, like you mentioned, or whether it is Princeton, Brown, Carnegie Mellon, whichever it is. It's an important exercise for a child to make it to the dream university. But profile building is definitely about a lot more. Now, all these people who are listening to you right now, they have listened to me a zillion times earlier. I would want you to tell me how profile building is really important, not just for college and career advisory, but also for a child's success in life. Maybe if you can just share some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think, it goes back to why universities also want that profile, right? I think many students say, but ma'am, I'm great at academics. Why do they care? If you look, I mean, usually, especially universities in the West, they do a lot of research into what makes their alumni successful, right? So working backwards from that, what they found is that the alumni who are most successful, the people who get the most out of the college education, are the ones who show qualities of, initiative, of impact, of leadership, of passion, right? And these are things that don't always come across in the academics. And so, that's why they try to see what else you've done, right? Are you just doing the bare minimum and getting along, or are you just very one-dimensional? So I think if you look at your own self, you apply that same principle to you, right? And you say, what is it that has made, all these famous entrepreneurs successful, right? And Steve Jobs is a shining example of this, because he was someone who truly believed in like the, kind of like development, including kind of the artistic, the value of things and so on. And you have to really ask yourself, am I developing myself to my fullest potential? Because academics is only one aspect of who you are. And honestly, we all know, and this is something kids will only realize when they, when they get to that point. But parents can help them understand this, that parents, I'm sure, appreciate it, that once you're in the job, it's so much more than what you've learned in your college or your high school, right? You're a software engineer, fine, you've learned coding in college, but you haven't truly like learned problem solving or collaboration or leadership till you get into the workforce and you're doing those things. And so I think we owe it to our kids to have them explore as many things as possible, in terms of their own personality development, right? As they can at this young age, instead of just telling them go and do JE, coaching for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
I
And
so
so I
can't
think,
agree more with you, Ramya. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're listening to Ramya Modukuri, College and Career Counselor with Manthan International School. Believe you me, you are lucky that you're getting to listen to her, because while she is as modest as she is, and she's as humble as she is one of the finest college and career counselors India can have, and and understand where she's coming from. And especially this is for parents. When Ramya or me or any other career counselor comes to you and says that we want you to focus on the profile building of your child, believe you me, we do not mean that it is only and only for the right college admission or right university selection. Profile building possibly is a much broader term. Let's simplify it by saying that we want your child to be holistically developed in such a manner that he or she is able to justify, deliver, and perform in a multicultural, multi ethnic environment. The child is able to perform in competition, the child is able to perform as a leader, but the child is also able to take people together and be a team person. In today's time, we have to understand that there are certain skill sets which are only built outside the classroom. They are never built inside the classroom, be it communication skills, networking skills, exposure, analytical skills. There are certain skill sets which require you to go an extra mile. And these are those skill sets which will actually make your child successful in future and not just academic scores. And that's where research in high school happens to be the most sought after and the most admired profile building opportunity uh, that your child can engage into. Ramya, I was going through your article, amazing read, I must say. Let me just start off by asking you, um, what do you actually mean by research? You know, what does actually research means in this case? uh, are we looking at these kids just sitting on the computer and doing secondary research and googling and coming up with synopses like you mentioned? What do you really mean?
right. And I think, this was something, I think even as adults, honestly, there's so much misconception about it, right? And until I spoke to actually, this is not even that obvious when you do your looking around. I shouldn't even call it research, what I did, for my article. But it's really when I spoke to this professor and, a couple of guys who run these research opportunities for high school students that so there's a misconception, right? We all think because anytime we say research, there's the white lab coats, right? People doing test tube stuff, and or at least something very, very formal that, like you said, the PhDs they do it, or like postdoctoral people. And then there's the other end, which is what a lot of my students say, like, "Ma'am, I love researching." I said, "What do you do?" I start with the topic and I read as much about it as I can, which is fine. I mean, it's a kind of research, but in this context, when we talk about doing research as an activity, as a profile building activity, it's basically essentially all of research, whether you're doing it in a lab or whether you're doing it in the comfort of your home, is basically, for it to be somewhat structured, is you frame a question, right? You come up with a question, and then you have hypotheses, right? Multiple hypotheses, and then you collect some sort of data that could be primary data through surveys or through experiments. It could be secondary data based on data that's already been collected, and then you analyze that, right? And then you come to some conclusion. So you either, like, disprove or prove your hypothesis. And so that's really what it is. So one example I tell you from my own students this year, they did this under the mentorship of the professor from UAB and University of Alabama. And it was basically something very interesting, which said, why aren't more Indian scientists winning Nobel Prizes for the sciences? And so it was amazing. They essentially started with that question, and then they collected a lot of data, including how, comparing like the different metrics on which the Nobel is formed, and the economy. They compared it to like the growth of universities, and so they collected a lot of data to figure out exactly if there was a one single cause or different causes, and if there were different causes, was there a way to quantitatively figure out, to put some sort of a percentage or a number on it to say that this is, or these two things are the primary causes and so on. So that's a simple example, right? And I think if you look online, there's like, I'll show you some of these examples. There's one that says the effects of handedness in tennis matches, so it's interesting subjects like that kids, these are high school research things that I'm reading off of one of the one of these vendors, one of the companies that offers these opportunities to high school students. Another one is, how Hong Kong protesters used visual arts as a form of protest, or the inclusion of informal workers in Mumbai's economy. So these are some examples of questions that they framed, and then they collected data, and then that's how they did their research. So that's what we mean by research in this context.
Wonderful. And Ramya, it brings to I'm forced to think that how is that possible that students in international baccalaureate are able to do the research, and I'm sure you might want to choose your words properly, because you and me are public figures
You're
right
putting
now,
me on the spot here.
right? But okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who's listening, whatever I'm talking, these are my responsibility, my comments. Ramya is not responsible for it. Anyway, but it is often seen that a child in international curriculum is able to do or write research papers, extended essays, theory of knowledges, really, really well. Somehow, the Indian curriculum has still not evolved to a level where research is a core part of it. Uh, do you think that this definitely makes all the reason in the world that all the students and parents who are listening to you and me right now should allow their child to actually pursue research? What is your take on it?
I think, I mean, regardless of the curriculum, kids are very capable, right? Yes, probably, the international curricula, it's something that's built in from, day one, because IB, even in the middle years program, they have their passion projects and things like that. And of course, in the DP program, the diploma program, they have the extended essay, which is that 4,000 word essay. And similarly, Cambridge has something called Global Perspectives and Research, which in many schools is now something that starts in third grade, I believe. I mean, my son in sixth grade does it. And so, but it doesn't mean, it just means that they have a slight leg up maybe in those skills, and in just writing a lot, and understanding how to look for information, how to analyze that information. But the inherent capability is there in all students, right? And I think we all understand that. That's not even something. But yeah, I think regardless of that, I mean, that even if you do IBDP or Cambridge, I think what you learn in school is a small, it's the very bare minimum, like fundamentals, right? I think when you do one of these research projects, it really takes it up a whole level. And also in school, again, you are most of the time looking at, this is something I'm not entirely sure of, because my school doesn't have IB, and so but my understanding is the topics are not like entirely like new questions that you're posing. And sorry, I mean, maybe IB counselors can correct me, but if you do a proper research project, then you're essentially coming up with these sort of, you're creating new knowledge, right? And so regardless of curriculum, I think everyone should really look into it. Sorry, I hope that answers the question.
I completely agree that the ability in a teenager or a high school student is so high in today's time. It is only about channelizing, and I really feel that opportunities of research help you channelize your knowledge really, really well. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, again, like I tell you that, like I told you, we are bringing a huge opportunity for your child to get into not only an internship experience, but also learn how to write a research paper well, and then write a research paper. And if selected, God be kind, your child's research paper might be published in some international journal. And this is happening in the field of psychology and mental health. Please do allow your child to participate in it, irrespective of the field or the stream your child is in. Psychology and mental health is a great area of research. for any high school kid, especially in the COVID era, where these kids are stuck inside home under the four watchful eyes of their parents, and they are not able to go out and meet their friends. Ramya, my next question to you is, why should high school students research? I understand profile building, great opportunity, but but I'm sure you have more reasons around that to get into research. Why do you think?
So one is I feel like it's just exciting, right? I think for students or for anybody, I mean, I think somebody had put it in the comments, and I was like, I would like to do research too. Now that I've actually written this, I'm like, it would be so interesting to actually do research in my own field, right? In career counseling, I think there are so many things that are just interesting trends or interesting questions that we can think about, like more from a social sciences perspective too. And then second, like all the things you've been mentioning earlier, right? It gives you valuable skills. So you learn to think critically. You learn to. I'm sorry, that's my daughter crying in the background. I apologize. Um, but I'm sorry,
No, go
Abhishek,
on,
can you
go on.
mute me for like 2 seconds? I can't mute myself. I just have to
You
tell
can,
her.
but
Sorry.
I'll definitely mute you. Okay, you're muted. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Ramya Modukuri, a great parent, an awesome mother, and an amazing college and career counselor. And what better that look at her professionalism, even when her daughter is crying, she's trying to console her and still managing to carry on with her conversation. That's called professionalism and that's called motherhood, handling two things at a time. And salute to you, Ramya Modukuri. It's
No,
all
I'm
you.
sorry. I think we're all in the same boat. It is sometimes very difficult. I have 3 kids, so I apologize. I think, thank God, this is high school moms, and so please, I'm really sorry, but I know you
No,
understand. I
you're
know you're with
absolutely
me.
okay. You don't have to be sorry to be a mother. The reason why we named this, the weird part, a father of a teenager is the founder of a mother's community. All right. So if mothers can accept that, they can definitely accept a mother looking out for her kid. Anyways, but go back to your answer, Ramya. I mean,
Right.
why research?
So it's all the skills that you had been talking about, right? In terms of, I think, critical thinking. Also, I think what's incredible, other than, for example, in internships, yes, you get a lot of problem solving skills and collaboration and teamwork skills when you're working at a company or in a project, right? But there, one thing is, research, even though it can be collaborative, it also is something you're doing out of like, you're asking questions that haven't been asked before, right? And so you need a lot of self motivation because you will run into dead ends. You will discover that either there is not enough data or you don't know how to get the data. And so I think the amount of like self motivation and persistence, that I think, to me, more than anything, those are two skills that get signaled by a research project. And of course, that higher level thinking, right? Because you have to, when you're looking at all the information you collect, you have to find patterns in them. You have to see if those patterns make sense, if those are corroborated by other things, the context of what you're doing your research in, right? And so I think there's like it's just a level up in terms of thinking, and I think that's why universities also value it, right? And that's why, by the way, also everyone can and should try it. But getting to that level where you're probably publishing, and you're truly doing groundbreaking work, that is probably a little rarer, right? And then secondly, it gives you depth, right? Because you're going into one area of interest. And so for your own passion, I know kids who are so passionate about biology or computer science. And so, for them, this is great. It's just a way to really, and it's a way for the parents to understand that, look, there are kids, unfortunately, even in this day and age. I was counseling a 10th grader. He loves biology. Parents say, and for no fathomable reason that I can think of, they say biology is rubbish. I mean, it makes no sense to me, but there are parents who are very stuck in their ways. They say engineering is the way of the future. And when they see maybe that the student is so passionate, doing such a deep level of work in this, it can be a way for them to really understand that, okay, this is where my child's passion truly lies, right? And for kids too, like, this is really give you a sense, because one thing is, it can also dispel myths. Maybe you think that, oh, being a scientist is so hunky-dory, and then you go and start doing research and you're like, okay, this is really not for me. So either way, it can help you figure out what you want to study. And then, like you said earlier, right, it is a sought after thing, a sought after activity, and it remains rare for various reasons, some good reasons, some bad reasons, mostly bad reasons, because there isn't enough availability of opportunities. but it really can set you apart, right, in the college application process, because something like coding these days has become so common. Any child can go to edX or Coursera and do a coding course, that Harvard X course or whatever, that Python course, but not enough of them will be able to do research. And so it really can make your profile unique. And then it does give you a community, because even though we feel that research is a bit more of an individualized activity, I mean, one is I think that's not the case at all. And we've seen this in the pandemic, right? I mean, one of the absolutely amazing things was how we got to a vaccine in about 6 months from the time the first, analysis of the virus was done. And anything you read about that, they always say the scientific community is more closely knit than ever before, because the moment, somewhere, and I can't remember where, they did the genetic sequencing of the coronavirus, they immediately shared it with like the whole world, and scientists everywhere were able to access that, and then they took that research forward. And so I think it is a community building thing. And one reason, which I didn't write in my article, which I was talking to one of my students about, he's now a freshman, and he said, when he did this research project in high school, once he entered university, he was able to show them experience to say that, look, I come already with this research experience. So this is why, even though he's at a competitive university, he was able to say, look, among all the other brilliant kids here, you should choose me because I already come with that experience, right? And so that was what I thought. I mean, I thought that was a very interesting point that I had not really thought of.
Absolutely. And look at the collaboration here in this industry, in education, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Across the platforms, I have comments coming in, and Ramya, you would be delighted to know some of your colleagues are commenting on our lives right now. We have Meghna Gandhi, and Meghna, if I'm correct, you are a career and college advisor with NISV Gujarat, and we have Vandana Murjani, Emirates High, and she's also
dear
coming.
friend.
Yeah, she's a dear friend here too, and she's been a big support. And she's also commenting. Meghna says that research develops high order thinking, analytical ability. And Vandana is also commenting, and she's saying finding out new interesting facts in the field of the study is a great byproduct of doing research. So, ladies and gentlemen, see if multiple counselors, from Ramya to Vandana to Meghna Gandhi, if everybody is talking about the importance of research, you must definitely consider. And like Ramya said, that research in high school not only enhances your knowledge. When you research about a topic, you get detailed information about the topic. You're more once you get into that habit, you're inclined to do more research. It clarifies confusion. You'll be able to understand the difference between complicated facts and figures and rumors. You will be able to understand how to take this research forward. You'll be able to understand nuances about the career that you are planning to get into. It will help you understand, having subject matter knowledge, understanding about the subject. It also might allow you to become famous and get your research published while developing your high order thinking and research and analytical skills. And all in all, most of the universities will appreciate a high school student doing research. Amazing opportunity it is, and you must consider what Ramya is suggesting you. Ramya, my next question, and last 5 minutes into this discussion, and I know it's getting late and your daughter is waiting for you, and I'll let you go. Do you really think high school students are too young to do the research, Ramya? I mean,
Not at all. And I think, I mean, I know in my article I'd dug up, going back to like Sir C.V. Raman, but I think even these days, right, you see kids doing this all around you. And I think there are so many companies that have come up who are, who are catering to these students. And some of those companies, I mean, they take in like some 500 kids per year, to do this research. And they're all, and some of the stuff earlier, I read out to you was from the website of one of these companies, and kids are doing amazing work. And I think researchers themselves are like, I think, getting younger and younger, because I as I was digging through information for this article, right, there was I think, I don't know if it's Forbes, but there's a 30 under 30 for research work. So and that used to be, I think, pretty unheard of like a while ago, at least even probably a decade or 2 decades ago, that people were putting out so much research, so many people were putting out publishing at the age of like 25, and like essentially it was understood that even by the time you maybe finished your PhD, you're like almost crossing into your 30s. And so I think there's incredible support in places like the US, really, because you have like the Intel competition, you have a lot of universities which tie up with high schools, and kids there can go and take university level courses, they can get in touch with professors. There's just so much opportunity there. In India, I think it's still very much, we need to have that. It hasn't entered the public conscience. And I'll tell you, when my kids did this research on the Nobel Prize and stuff, the team comprised of 6 kids from my school and 3 undergraduates from a very popular, I won't name the university, like a very good college in Hyderabad, a very well established 100-year-old college. And the girls were amazing. It's a girls' college. And I was asking them later, afterwards, I said, did you tell your professors? Because, you're doing research with a professor from a university in the US, and you girls are amazing. You can do it. But, they said, no, ma'am, it never struck us. They wouldn't be supportive. And I think, that needs to change, right? I think as like basically, in India, we need to change that, because I think people think exactly that high school kids are too young to do research, but there's proof everywhere that they're not. And for kids, I'm totally plugging my article, but there is a list of resources, right? And one of them, interestingly, is this thing called Journal of Emerging Investigators, which publishes research on their website from middle school kids, okay, middle and high school kids. So clearly, and it's not like I don't know what their selection process is. You guys will have to go and take that up a little bit, but it's very highly like referred to everywhere. So I'm assuming it's pretty legitimate and pretty good. So. But this is all evidence that, clearly kids are not that young. They just lack structure. And by the way, one of the most fascinating things which got me also interested in writing this article was when I started looking into this, right? And I've mentioned this in my articles, that if you Google Blackawton bees, Blackawton bees, okay? It is basically research done by, and it's proper research, I shouldn't even air quote it. It's research done by 8 to 10-year-old kids. Okay. It's a class of like primary school kids essentially. And their teacher helped them figure out, ways to build games, which were like experiments really, right? To test a hypothesis about the vision of bees. And when you look at things like that, which I feel like every teacher should be made to read that stuff, because you as a teacher, if there are any teachers or even parents who want to guide their children, there's so much you can do to just build their natural curiosity, to give them some structure on how to think, right? We all have this tendency, we like to answer questions for our kids. But I think just even simple things like asking, if they ask you a question, asking, why do you think that is, right? So why is the sky blue? Okay, why do you think that is? And I think it starts from that. So kids are never young. I mean, there are 8-year-old, 10-year-olds they're capable of it, really. It's just about providing them the structure and support.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, while Ramya is correct that in India, we still have to grow up to the age where we have to accept that research is very critical in developing a child's personality, character, intelligence, application, analytical skills, high order thinking, and so on and so forth. The opportunities in India is limited, and we at High School Moms are trying our level best to bring these opportunities absolutely free of cost in a very democratic manner for your kids. Please be hooked on to the information. We recently completed a research internship in the field of business and entrepreneurship. And on 25th of June, I am delighted to tell you that me and my team will be launching an internship in psychology and mental health. Again, a research-based project where your child will not only learn how to conduct a research, but also how to write a research paper and then research about issues which are really troubling our young learners in today's time, and how we can overcome them with innovative solutions. So a huge learning exercise, and the only thing that it will cost you and your child is just motivation to participate in it, and nothing more than that. And believe you me, if you are able to motivate your child to participate in such kind of an internship, like Ramya said, it's not only a great profile building opportunity, but it's also something that you will carry the learning all throughout your life. And at this juncture, it is so critical for me to mention a good friend, a brother, somebody who has supported me all throughout, and he's commenting on Facebook on this discussion. His name is Samir Arora. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Samir Arora, Vice Principal, Legacy School, Bangalore, a very good friend. Legacy School also happens to be our school partner. They have joined hands to ensure that we promote inclusive, quality, higher education advisory across the country. And Samir says, I think as educators, we need to step out of the confines of curriculum and open the infinite possibility a research opportunity may open for our students. If IBDP can use that as a tool to engage students in the depth of the subject of their choice through extended essay or internal assessments, I'm sure other curriculums can follow that too. Samir, I'm sure both me and Ramya and the hundreds and thousands of people listening to us on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, they would definitely agree. And thank you so much for commenting there. I also would want to tell you, Ramya, I'll take the liberty to add a couple of things here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very easy to promote research skills in your child. It starts with a question. It starts with a curious mind. In today's time, with technology so accessible, researching is not very difficult. We don't need to go to a library, travel in roadways, buses, or walking kilometers to find that one book to research, though that had its own charm. But in today's time, there are various tools that a high school student can use, and I'll name some of them. Google Scholar. It is a tool created to congregate scholarly literature on the web. Google Books. It allows a student to search from thousands of index books, popular titles. Microsoft Academic, another amazing tool that your child can use. It's a search engine which pulls content from 120 million publications, scientific papers, journals, research papers. There is another website that your child can use, which is called Worldwide Science. There is another website which your child can do if he or she is really interested in pure sciences or technical information. It's called science.gov. So there are so many. RefSeek, if I remember it correctly, Education Resources Information Center, ERIC. There are so many information portals available where a child can start doing the research even from the confines of the home. My last question to you, Ramya, before I let you go. While what I thought these are some great sites for a child or a counselor to guide their students and children to do the research, what do you think? How can us high school students start on a research project?
I think, one is because we mentioned this earlier, I think Samir had mentioned to IBDP. If you are in happen to be in an international curriculum, I think definitely I always encourage my kids to take global perspectives. Up until 10th, we mandate it in our school, but starting in 11th and 12th, it's optional. But I think it's a great option, like 2 years ago, and unfortunately, I don't know, in many schools kids get scared, because it's even for international school students, it's a level of writing that they haven't done before, right? So it's a bit scary. It's basically like a 1-year research project. So sometimes, through your curriculum you can do it if you're doing IB or Cambridge. Otherwise I think essentially there are like a couple of different ways. You can find a mentor on your own. So if you have a family friend who's a professor, or if one of your parents happens to be a professor, you can definitely ask them to guide you on this. Or they can, if it's not the area of their expertise, if it's not their area of expertise, they can put you in touch with another professor who's who does it in the related area. But even if it's not their area of expertise, they can guide you, in terms of what resources to use. What does the process of research actually look like? Because whether you're doing it in science or whether you're doing it in humanities or social sciences, the fundamentals are the same, right? And then you can apply to a sort of like a structured research program. Like I'd mentioned earlier, there are vendors like Pioneer Academics, Lumiere Education, Horizon, Polygens, Research Discovery India. So these are all some options. There you do pay, and typically they structure it as a 6 or anywhere between a 6 and 12-week program. And I think today I was talking to someone from something called iPerk, and they're also doing this. And so there's a lot of options and that's probably the easiest, even though that's the most expensive, obviously. But there, you are they're used to doing this day in day out, right? So they have it down to, okay, this is the process. We will pair you up with a mentor, and then you do your research, and then if it's good, they will try to get you to publish it. um, then there are research competitions which you can enter, where they give you guidelines, they give you some resources, and so it's like a semi-mentored thing, which is also a good option. And then I think the cheapest option and the most flexible, but also the most difficult, is if you do it on your own, completely on your own. Don't try to do it completely on your own. At least get a teacher to guide you. And for teachers also, if you're listening, and if you haven't done any research in your undergrad or masters, that's fine. I mean, but you are still more well equipped than the student to do this, to help them. And in that process, you can learn a lot too, and maybe you yourself can do research that will improve your own skills, your own knowledge of the subject, and things like that. So I think there are resources for self-directed research. I think, Abhishek, you had mentioned a lot of websites. So I think there's definitely a lot of information. And if you go into some of these university websites, for example, I'll just name a couple of them, which I found was very helpful. One is from University of Southern California, and Purdue has one. So if you just Google Purdue research, it gives you this entire library, on how to get started, and they give you links to a lot of like this Google Scholar and things like that, where so it's more of a step by step, how can you go about doing it on your own. So do Google, some of these things, and you'll find resources.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, for everybody, I am putting link to Ramya's article. Unfortunately, I only have the LinkedIn link. I will take the
That's
liberty of
fine.
copying that article and giving pasting it on our Facebook group and Facebook page. But right now, that article is coming into your feed across YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And go ahead, read it. That's the article that Ramya has written. Uh, Ramya, while high school moms has come a long way in last 1 year, I want to take this opportunity to tell you that, and to Samir, uh, brother from another mother, to Vandana Murjani, an amazing friend, Meghna Gandhi, everybody, every educator who is listening, we would not have been able to do it without your support. I really owe it to you guys for helping me build this revolution. Who thought that 4 months back, 5 months back, when I started my Instagram handle from 0 followers, in 5 months will come to about 31,000. 3 days back, we hit about 30,000 followers. Today, we are sitting at 31,000. We are adding almost 300, 400 followers a day. It's become a rate. Thank you so much for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please look out for 25th of June, where we will be launching second internship and research-based project by high school moms this year. The first one was in business and entrepreneurship. The second one is in psychology and mental health. Please don't confuse yourself that psychology is only for humanities kids or kids who are interested in psychology. Psychology is for everybody. Every human needs to understand psychology. So you should promote your child. If your child is in grade 10, 11, and 12, I'm more than happy to provide them this opportunity to become a part of India's most selective research-based internship, this time in psychology and mental health, getting launched on 25th of June, where the registration's open. Ramya, your parting comments. Do you think high school moms is doing a reasonable job? Any feedback for us, how we can improve? Please do tell us.
No, just keep on keeping on, as they say. You guys are reaching so many kids. I mean, and I think what's nice is you've sort of demystified the process, and you've cut down the middleman, right? You've cut out the middleman, really. I think because you're bringing universities directly in contact, with the students, and I think it's really necessary. I think so many of us are trying to do something in a smaller scale, and you're just doing it at a much larger scale. And kudos to you, and may your tribe grow, as they say.
Thank you, Ramya. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's Ramya Modukuri, one of the finest career and college advisors that I've met in last so many years. She is the career and college advisor with Manthan International School, an amazing friend, an amazing human being, a great mother, and a great career and college advisor. Thank you so much, Ramya Modukuri, for taking out time and joining us on the very first episode of season 2 of High School Moms Talks. We are really grateful to you. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I think this is I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to so many students, because in my school there's only, these many that I can speak to. And so if there is, if this has helped the students, then that's all I think we're all working towards, right?
You definitely
So
did,
thank you so
Ramya.
much.
Just give me 1 second and let me say goodbye to all my audience. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Boys and girls, thank you so much for joining in. It's been great talking to you guys. Look out for more such engaging, informative, and amazing sessions with the experts from the career and college advisory, with the experts from universities. High School Moms Talk Season 2 has just started, and we'll take it one step at a time and bring the best of the people to talk to you so that you are able to take not just an informed decision, but a good decision for your child's career and college. Thank you so much for joining in. Stay home, stay safe, keep on wearing face masks. Even if you're vaccinated, please sanitize your hands well. The only way you can take care of the world is by taking care of yourself. So do not forget that. Maintain social distancing and stay home. Good night. God bless.